still actively looking for survivors. We know, and that's the pledge we've made to these families, and this is still very much an active search and rescue mission. And there is not a single resource that we will hold off on deploying. I have already authorized the deployment of everything from air, land, and sea resources to make sure that this search and rescue operation is carried out to its fullest intent. The second thing I want to remind people is that this will not be short. There's going to be a long road. There's going to be a long road, not just as we go from search and rescue. There'll be a long road as we talk about what does the future of this region, the future of the area look like. And we're going to need each and every one of you. We're thankful to have partners like what we have in the Biden-Harris administration. We're thankful for the partners that we have in our federal delegation. We're thankful for the partners we have in our state and local leadership. We're thankful for the partners that we have in the private sector and the philanthropic community. We're thankful for the partners that we have within the Moore-Miller administration. We're thankful for each and every one of you, both Marylanders and non-Marylanders who have reached out and offered support. We feel it. We need it. And we are truly grateful for it. And I think just in this time, this state has been able to show what it means to be Maryland tough and Baltimore strong. And this state and this city will continue to show exactly that. And so with that, I want to turn it over to our Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, with a deep sense of thanks and appreciation. Oh, I apologize. Before I turn it over to Secretary Buttigieg, I want to turn it over to the dean of our delegation, and someone who has been leading from the front this entire time, and we are deeply grateful for the leadership of Senator Ben Cardin.
Governor Moore, first of all, thank you very much for getting our whole team together to meet this challenge, and our prayers are with the families of those that are lost at sea at this moment. As the governor said, it's still a search and rescue, so we are hopeful and we are with the families. I also want to underscore our thanks to our first responders. They did an extraordinary job, acting very quickly and saved lives, so we thank our first responders for everything that they have done. I just really want to underscore a couple points. Our first priority is the search and rescue for those that were on the bridge. We then need to make sure that the channel is reopened. It's critically important to our economy. It affects many, many jobs. It affects not only jobs here in Maryland, but around the country and world. So our next priority is to make sure we get that channel opened. And then we also need to fix and replace the bridge for the surface transportation. We're going to work together as a team. I am very impressed by all the partners that are with us today. We heard from them at the state level, the local level, at the federal level. I particularly want to acknowledge our federal partners. The Secretary of Transportation is with us. We have the Coast Guard. We have the Army Corps of Engineers. We have the investigators. We have the Small Business Administration. They're all here because of the commitment of the partners to work together. A special thanks to President Biden, who's made it very, very clear that he'll do everything in his power to make sure that we get the help we need to deal with this challenge. But as Secretary Buttigieg told us in our briefings, he's going to need the help of Congress in order to get things done. So I want to acknowledge our team, Senator Van Hollen, my partner in the United States Senate on the Appropriations Committee, the work that he's doing. Congressman Mfume is here. Congressman Trone is here. Team Maryland, our federal delegation, is committed to working together. Senator Van Hollen and I got calls from our leadership that said they're prepared, Secretary Buttigieg, to do everything that we need to do in Congress to make sure you have the resources and the federal partners have the resources in order to get the job done. So I want to thank Senator Schumer for his call and his comments. Senator Murray, Senator Carper, Chair of the Environment and Public Works Committee, have all been in touch with us. It is a team effort, and we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to protect our economy and protect the people of our state. And with that, let me just turn it back to the governor or Secretary Buttigieg. This guy woke all of us up early this morning, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to thank Senator Cardin and the entire delegation for their leadership. They have been on this from the first moments. And as the Senator mentioned, and I'll say more about this in a moment, we'll be needing to work together to make sure that we render all of the support that is needed at the federal level. I want to recognize the leadership of Governor Moore, who was already wide awake and hard at work when I reached him in the middle of the night. We just had a very informative briefing with his extraordinary leadership team, and I was moved to see the partnership between state as well as county and city personnel, led by the county executive and the mayor, working hand in glove with us and with our sister federal agencies. And if there's one thing I have to say today, it is a note of gratitude for the extraordinary and courageous work of the first responders, some of whom are in that cold water right now, some of whom are from right here, some of whom have traveled in to render mutual aid, all of whom are responding with extraordinary professionalism and whose work has already saved lives. And to those state, county, and local responders, I would add the extraordinary work of the United States Coast Guard. We should also recognize that this is an excruciating day for several families who went to bed last night having it be a normal night and woke up today to news that no one wants to receive. They are hoping and praying, and we are hoping and praying with them. We are all putting our arms around the community of Baltimore, and that is true for all of this country. I've even heard from counterparts as far away as the United Kingdom reaching out to express their support to the people of Baltimore. As been mentioned, been in close contact with the governor, the mayor, county leadership, and the congressional delegation. And as President Biden has made clear, the federal government will provide all of the support that they need for as long as it takes. This is no ordinary bridge. This is one of the cathedrals of American infrastructure. It has been part of the skyline of this region for longer than many of us have been alive. So the path to normalcy will not be easy. It will not be quick. It will not be inexpensive. But we will rebuild together. In order to make sure that happens, the President's plan is to work with everyone here in order to rebuild this bridge and reopen this port, including our readiness as a department to approve emergency funding as soon as we receive that request. Meanwhile, our Maritime Administration will help with port, harbor, and supply chain operations. Our Federal Highway Administration will assist when it comes to the bridge itself and any ways that we can help ease roadway congestion for residents and commuters who can no longer use this major thoroughfare. The Federal Aviation Administration is even involved, working to keep the airspace above the bridge clear for emergency personnel. PHMSA, our Pipeline and Hazardous Material Safety Administration, is on the scene to help with any hazmat issues. And our newly stood up freight office is already at work preparing for supply chain impacts that we know are coming because of the importance of this port, not just to the Baltimore region, but really to the entire United States economy. We're going to be working closely with the National Transportation Safety Board as they lead their independent investigation and with the Coast Guard as they continue operations in the water. I've also spoken with Secretary Mayorkas, who's working to ensure that all DHS assets are integrated. So in many ways, our work is just beginning to rebuild this bridge and deal with impacts in the meantime, to reopen this port and deal with supply chain impacts in the meantime. But today we are most acutely focused on the emergency operations underway and on the families that have been impacted. I have no doubt that we will rebuild together and that Baltimore will come back stronger than ever before. And with that, I will turn it back over to the governor to lead media questions. Governor?
Governor, any news on the missing pieces? Have any been recovered?
There's no new information about the search efforts that we know that we still have the 6 individuals who are missing.
Governor, when you talk about the investigative standpoint, how concerned are you if there were any safety violations on this ship or the track record of the owner operator? And Mr. Secretary, if you could speak to that as well, do you have any concerns about that? Mayor Scott, we also didn't hear from you. What are your thoughts on this tragedy today?
Well, I'll take it first, and I can pass it off to you, Mr. Mayor. I know there's a thorough investigation that's going to be going on about everything that took place last night, the things that led up to it, and also the aftermath. And so I don't have any further comments about any concerns that we have about the companies that are involved, because there's still a thorough investigation that's going to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. I think we all know this is an unspeakable tragedy. And while, as the governor just said, the investigation is still underway, all of that can wait. Right now, this is about the lives of those individuals that we are searching for and nothing else. Everything else, this team of folks will work together to make sure that we rebuild and do everything we need to do for our port. But right now, we need everyone to understand this is about the lives and those families who are deeply impacted.
Governor. Mr. Secretary, this is, we've seen now several bridge collapses happen over the past couple of years. Obviously, this was a catastrophic event, but that bridge fell very quickly. How concerned should Americans be about the bridges that they're traversing every single day in this country?
Well, this is a unique circumstance. I do not know of a bridge that has been constructed to withstand a direct impact from a vessel of this size. What I will say is anytime anything happens to any bridge, we as a country take that and learn from that. Learning from incidents as diverse as what happened to I-95 in Philadelphia, what happened to I-10 in Los Angeles, or another case that we're learning a lot from here, which is the 2007 collapse of I-35 West in Minnesota. Let me emphasize that was a very different circumstance with very different causes. And the NTSB, by design, is independently leading the investigation into what those causes are. No question that we will take all of that information and apply it in our future work.
Mr. Secretary, how long are you preparing for the shipping channel to be closed? And you mentioned supply chain. What else are you doing to make sure other ports are prepared to maybe take on some of that?
Well, the port here in Baltimore does the most vehicle handling of any port at all. And that's just talking about the vehicle side. You also have container traffic, you have bulk traffic. There is no question that this will be a major and protracted impact to supply chains. It's too soon to offer estimates on what it will take to clear the channel and reopen the port. There is one part of the facilities here, Trade Point, which is located at Sparrow Point, which is outside of the part that's blocked. But the main part of the Port of Baltimore is, of course, inside the channel that has been blocked. This is part of why we're fortunate to have that newly stood up freight office, which along with the Maritime Administration and all of our interagency and intergovernmental partners here, is we're going to make sure we coordinate. There is no central authority that directs maritime traffic the way you have with air traffic. So it's going to be important to have a number of dialogues established with ocean shippers, beneficial cargo owners, port operators, and everybody else who plays a role.
And I'm sorry, Governor, just for clarity, a question from this morning. It was unclear if there were any vehicles on the bridge when the vessel hit it. Do you have an update now whether there were actually vehicles on the bridge?
There's still an investigation going on about which vehicles that we had that was on the bridge. The thing that we know that we also can verify, though, is the quick work of public officials and law enforcement who kept more vehicles from coming onto the bridge. They undoubtedly saved innumerable amount of lives last
So
night.
you're still looking for 6 people, and that's it, as far as you know.
Our investigation has not changed on that.
Thank you very much, guys. Can you tell us about the companies involved? The companies involved here, the shippers, the owners, the insurance companies. Are you working with them?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You've been listening to Governor Wes Moore along with Senator Ben Cardin and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg giving an update. And really, I think I kind of characterize this as gratitude, as they all expressed how grateful they were to the teamwork, everything that everybody's doing, all of the first responders, everybody involved in what's happening there, and just being thankful.
Yeah, and Andre, I don't know if you caught it, but he called the bridge the Cathedral of American Infrastructure.
Yes, not an ordinary bridge.
You know, the bridge gets some respect up and down the East Coast, and
Yeah.
especially this Northeast corridor. Man, oh man, I mean, what comes through there is incredible.
Incredible, and also in that bit, he talked about the rebuild. He said it won't be quick, it won't be inexpensive, but we will rebuild together, and he wanted to stress that. So we will see another Francis Scott Key Bridge over there connecting 695, the Beltway, at some point. Now, there was no timeline given as to when that would happen because we still have to finish the search and rescue and the cleanup and such. But we are hearing from officials at the federal, state, and local levels that there will be a rebuild of that 1.6 mile span bridge that collapsed into the.
And like you said, they all made a point to say search and rescue is not done.
Yes.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right, exactly.
This
It's
continues.
still very active search and rescue, and that is the top priority at the moment, trying to find those 6 missing people. And Secretary Buttigieg also mentioned, and really impressive, how important this is to supply chain in America because of the Northeast Corridor, and there is going to be a major impact. So it's not just going to affect us here in Baltimore, it's going to affect a lot of people.
You know, Secretary Buttigieg just said something that confirmed what I just read in Bloomberg. Bloomberg News put out an alert saying that the Port of Baltimore is responsible for the largest transport of vehicles in the country.
Yeah, how about that?
And according to Bloomberg, if you add up all the cars and the coal and the lumber and everything that's transported through the Port of Baltimore is responsible for $80 billion in trade every year. And every day, the ships are not moving through the Port of Baltimore. $217 million worth of goods are not being delivered, according to Bloomberg. Wow. And Secretary Buttigieg just confirmed that Port of Baltimore responsible for the largest transport of vehicles in the United States. So it's very important to the supply chain of the United States.
And we are just bouncing back from the pandemic when it comes to the supply chain, especially with vehicles.
Yeah.
So.
And then one morning, we wake up and we see the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing into the Patapsco River. Jason and I were talking about this in the newsroom. Every time you look at it, you still can't believe that that's real, that we're actually looking at that.
Yeah.
From any angle, whether it's in the air or the ground, it still doesn't make sense.
So mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to
ahead.
Kate Amara. She has a live interview, we believe, with Kevin Cartwright. Kate, are you there?
Yes, we're here with Baltimore City Fire Chief Kevin Cartwright. And Kevin, I was just thinking, they call Baltimore Smalltimore because everybody knows everybody. He's an example of Smalltimore's enormous heart. So Chief Cartwright, you're here as part of the unified response. You're spokesperson for the city fire department, but he's also here with his church, addressing the needs of the people who are impacted. It's so interesting, the 2 huge hats that you're wearing. Thanks for stopping and talking to us.
Sure, my pleasure, Kate.
Can we talk to you first about what's going on the ground? We just saw a big yellow fire truck roll by. You said, yep, that's part of our unified response. What do you know that your members are doing right now in terms of the search efforts?
Yes, so as you know, Kate, from the inception of this incident, from the early morning hours, this has been a multi-agency mass casualty incident involving some vehicles and individuals who unfortunately plunged into the Patapsco River early morning hours. And in an effort to be able to mitigate this situation, identify and rescue victims and get through this incident, we have requested additional support from our jurisdictional partners, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, Carroll County, Baltimore Police Department, Maryland Transportation Authority Police, and so many other agencies are here coordinating our efforts and our resources to be able to mitigate this incident. As you can see, the significant damage that occurred in this collapse of the bridge. There's a lot of resources involved.
You talked about, I'm going to slur it, I can't say it, there's something sonar, that, because we've heard a lot about, we know that you've identified vehicles underwater. Can you explain with the proper wording what your department is doing there?
Sure. As a part of trying to identify vehicles and individuals in the Patapsco River, one of the resources that we're actually using with our dive team members is side scan sonar and infrared technology that's able to identify structures beneath the water surface and give us a type of visual of what that structure or object might be. They'll locate it, secure it with a rope and a buoy, and they'll continue to go down and touch base with these vehicles, search the vehicles, and identify whether or not there are any individuals in those vehicles.
So at the same time that your members are doing that grueling work, you're here with your church. reaching out to people with food. I got some chips, there's some water. You're even members of the media who are here from all over the world. You just pulled up and you had your pastors here. Can you tell us how you're wearing that second hat today? It's a very important one.
Yes, I was actually at our incident command. Fort Armistead Park is where the Baltimore City Fire Department and our collateral jurisdictions have incident command established. I got a phone call from our pastors at Union Church and extending their condolences and support for all of our emergency workers here on the scene. And I went to get in my vehicle to travel to another location related to this incident, and they pull up in a van and they have over 300 meals, food, drinks, and everything to provide for all of our emergency workers. So that just blew my mind, and it really lightened my heart, just showing how God can move in instances like this. So I know that all of our emergency workers, our firefighters, our dive team, law enforcement, public safety, everybody really appreciate this, and we can't thank them enough for what they're doing today.
Kevin Cartwright, Chief Kevin Cartwright, thank you so much for your time. We're going to let you go because I know the rest of your pastor and your other church members are waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, we'll talk.
And Chief Cartwright and his church are not the only church that were here today, that are here. Remember, we talked about the NTSB chair, the big wig with the big national voice was talking about we're focused on people impacted by this. Hours before that, there was another church from Anne Arundel County that was here, and we talked to volunteers from that church. Here, listen to a little bit of what he had to say as well.
We're here today just to be with our first responders and anyone that needs either prayer, support. We provide lunches, coffee, whatever they may need on site. We'll be here for the long haul. There's going to be a lot of need with the community, particularly as the port shut down. This is a port community, as you know. So our hearts and prayers go out for the entire community, and we just want to let them know by being here that we're in support, we're here for them, and we'll do what we can.
And we didn't mean for this to be a church-related live segment, but it turns out that it is, because the Archdiocese of Baltimore is holding a Mass at the Cathedral of Mary Our Queen at 5:30 to pray for the families of those impacted and the 6 people who remain unaccounted for. And we're working on connecting with the Archdiocese of Baltimore's Apostleship of the Sea. It's a group that ministers and is ministering to those that are on board the container ship that struck the Key Bridge. It's just one more way the Baltimore community isn't just working on the emergency response, but is also rallying around all of those impacted in so many different ways. So we're going to work on that. We're going to try to get in touch with those folks and speak to them, and we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Kate, thank you. Search and rescue crews, as we've been telling you, continue their search for at least 6 construction workers who were on the bridge when it collapsed.
11 News anchor Deborah Weiner joins us live now from Fort Armistead. And Deb, you're with someone who says that she saw the collapse when this happened.
Yeah, I'm with Darlene Irwin, who all day has decided not to do an interview, but is now ready to talk about what she experienced. We are at her home. We are in your backyard. I'm going to take my earpiece out for a second because I'm getting some feedback. This is where she lives, and she is sharing her backyard with us and her extraordinary story of waking up and hearing a sound that she's never heard. Darlene, thank you for telling this story with us. I appreciate it. Okay, this was 1:30 in the morning, as we all know, when you heard it because this is where you live. Tell me what happened.
I woke up, I was awake and heard just a very loud noise. The house shook. I got up and looked out. First thing I thought was it was the Dundalk Marine Terminal here on the right, and looked over and didn't see anything. Went back to bed. 20 minutes later, the phone started ringing. Friends were calling, go out on your deck. Can you see the bridge? And then we realized what happened. Came outside, and it was dark, but we could see the bridge was down. We could see the ship.
What went through your mind? This is where you have lived for 3 years. You enjoy this view. You and your partner sit outside. He drives across the Key Bridge every morning.
Every day. Yeah. I think my first thought was, how many people were on the bridge when it collapsed. That was the first thought. Second thought was I was glad that Joe wasn't on the bridge at that time in the morning. It was tragic. It was just a tragic feeling. You know, your heart just sinks, you know, and you can look at it and you just still can't believe it.
Darlene, you have lived in Dundalk a long time. You're very much the fabric of the community. You've looked at this bridge. You have family that have worked at the port. When you consider this moment, the history of this moment, what goes through your mind?
Just tragic for the whole area. Of course, first and foremost, the families that lost their loved ones today. Secondly, you know, this is a major port. This is a major port. There's so many ships that go in and out here, cargo ships, transportation vehicles, tractors, everything goes out of this port. And I would just worry about how it's going to affect the community here and how it's going to affect the nation.
Yesterday, your life was not this. Now, in your backyard, it's the epicenter of this major news event. You have NBC Nightly News right here, ready to broadcast with Lester Holt. You have a correspondent from Spain. You have international crews.
Yes.
When you think about how life turns, what do you think?
I just think that, you know, you just have to be grateful for every day and every moment, because you never know what can happen and when. You know, I mean, it takes something like this to make you to put us in that perspective, but it surely does.
And Darlene, when you sit out on your porch and you look out at this bridge from this day until it is rebuilt, what do you think you will experience looking out?
Just thought of loss of life. I'm just thankful that there wasn't, you know, more traffic going over the bridge when it collapsed. It'll be nice to see the progress and the bridge rebuilt, and of course the ships going in and out of the port again.
This is very emotional.
It is very emotional. It's very emotional. I mean, like I said, I grew up here. The port is everything to Dundalk and, you know, to the state. It's our livelihood. It's what keeps Baltimore going, you know.
Yeah.
And to have the ships down, I have a son that works, you know, on the coal up there, and it's just, you know, everything's going to be shut down, and it'd just be nice to see the ships going again.
I know that you are praying for those who are missing and their families as well.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you speaking to us. I know this is a very difficult time for you. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your home with us as well.
Oh, you're welcome.